Jason Gilbo here at JGilbo11, taking a look at the running back picks Justin Elick did, aka Big Elite 42, for FanDuel this week, week 12. And obviously we saw, a couple of good running backs play this week. Ezekiel Elliott had a monster day, Le'Veon Bell, as expected over Thanksgiving, but neither of those guys are on the slate, so that opens up to, obviously one of the other guys in that same tier, David Johnson. Expensive, 9,500 on the road against the Falcons. Falcons do struggle against the run. They rank 28th. Obviously, we look at, David Johnson, who's essentially matchup proof, as we saw against Minnesota, who is slipping a little bit, but still a tough matchup. Obviously, Johnson used in and out of the backfield for the passing game, for the run game. He's, just a high usage, high, utilized back. So you look at this one, I think, 22.5 total is fairly mediocre. I think you can kind of see them, whether they're ahead or whether they're down, Johnson's going to be used. That's one of the good things about him. So, looking at the projection, 21 here, very solid projected total for a running back here on FanDuel, and I'm definitely in agreement that he comes in kind of as a top back. Jay Ajayi here next, 8,400, just kind of a step below him in terms of projection. But we look at this one here, opponent rush defense of 32, no real surprise there. San Francisco, one of the more horrendous defenses on the slate. And you look at Ajayi, as you point out here, 26, 29, 27, 20, and 19 touches over the last 5 games. Great matchup here. We actually see Ajayi here. He kind of struggled a little bit here of late, but obviously because of the tougher matchups, he gets to come to a home game here against San Francisco. 8,400, obviously a big price jump. That's something that you would expect to see if this is matchup driven. But I'm expecting ownership to be very high. He's also a solid option. So one other guy I do like in the same price range is Melvin Gordon as well. Not mentioned here, but that's kind of a personal pick for me. GPP running backs this week, Rashad Jennings, 6,600. And the one thing here is, Rashad Jennings has actually been used here over the last couple of weeks, 36 carries in the last 2 games. Also 12 targets. That's something that's, an overlooked part of Rashad Jennings' game in terms of what he's been doing of late. So obviously a great matchup against the Browns. They rank 30th per Football Outsiders. This is a team that's bottom 5 in fantasy points allowed, under 7K. That's the big thing. So you're getting a pretty big discount. You can easily see 80 yards and a touchdown. And you also could see multi-touchdown upside if kind of things work a little bit, in his favor. Obviously, we know Eli Manning likes to throw the ball, but given the fact that they're expected to be up, I think game flow really should benefit him. Another GPP back we're looking at here is LaShawn McCoy or Mike Gillislee, whoever gives it a go this week. Obviously if McCoy's out, Gillislee's going to get it. And we look at this defense here. Jackson been kind of stumbling of late. They rank 23rd per rush and per rush defense, Football Outsiders. And you look at McCoy here. If he goes, obviously we know his usage when healthy. Just a matter of how healthy he is. That's the thing. Gillislee obviously would come in as one of the better values if we know McCoy is out. Gillislee started to get that bigger workload, when we saw him lead the game. And obviously this matchup is certainly something that you can look at. A 26 team total at home. They are favorites. I'm expecting this defense to be fairly highly owned. I think they're in a good spot this week. Interesting pairing with kind of the correlation of a running back here with the Buffalo Bills and their defense. So that is something to consider in GPPs. Value running backs, Jeremy Hill, 5,900, taking on the Ravens. And this one, obviously, because Giovanni Bernard is out, we're looking at, possibly 20 to 25 touches for Jeremy Hill going forward. Next week, in the weeks going on, it proves to be a much better schedule for Hill to kind of thrive in. This week it's very tough, but you know what? We've seen Hill do pretty well in a couple of games earlier in some tougher matchups. So I don't mind him at 5,900. Doesn't have to do much to pay off that price tag. You're kind of just hoping for 80 yards. Hopefully he gets that touchdown, which is certainly doable, especially if they can keep this one somewhat close. Another one here, Thomas Rawls, 7K, and another reasonable price tag for a guy who could possibly have a decent workload this week. 6-point favorites, 26 team total, and obviously no Christine Michael. CJ Prosise out with an injury, so this is something where you look at a pretty good spot for Rawls, and I think he's kind of a sneaky play this week. And does have a fairly okay floor. It's not great. I still like the other pay-up options better. I'm kind of trending in the direction of just going with, some mid-range wide receivers and paying up at running back, especially with how, cheap guys like Doug Baldwin and Russell Wilson is. But, the Seattle Seahawks offense is really cheap all across the board. So with a 26 total on the road against the Bucs, who have not been great, I like Rawls at 7K and should get him at lower ownership than what he probably should be this week. So that's going to wrap things up with the FanDuel running back analysis for Week 12. If you want to head on over to dailyfantasycafe.com, check out our great tools and content. If you want to check out Justin's article, be sure to read it. It is up on the site now.